We are here at Granny's Legacy Patterns today to show how to accomplish the woven straight stitch. So you can see we've used it on the leaves here, and it's a beautiful Valdani size 12 pearl cotton. This happens to be our new GL color. It's GL3, and it makes a beautiful leaf. And I'm going to show you how to accomplish this. It's a very simple stitch. I'm using M43, which is a red, so that it shows up so you can see it on camera. And I have a wool applique leaf started here to do the demo on. And what I like to do on the very first point up here, I like to do a teeny little tacking stitch. So I'll come up in the wool applique and go down right at the point. Now, if you have a curve, this isn't quite as important, but if you're trying to accomplish a pointy leaf, I find it helps to do that tiny little tacking stitch there. The next stitch I do is I do a back stitch here so that I can find my midway point. So I look about where midway would be. So I'll come back up and just do a back stitch down the length of the leaf right to the center way. That way I can start, and by starting in the center, by the time I weave all the way down to here, the weaving will come out even. If I start too far up here, when I get to here, I'm out of one side of the weave. So then I come up on the left-hand side, and now I'm just going to start with my straight stitch weaving. So right up here, the very first one is the tiniest little stitch in and out. And down on the right at that midway point, I'm following my line right across. And then I come up on this side just a little bit down from my original first stitch. And depending on how close together you want your stitching, it can be very, very close together or a little bit farther apart, however you'd like. Then a stitch at the top, in and out. And you can kind of manipulate your thread so it lays where you'd like it to be. Then down again, and this time I'm going to step down just a little bit, a little like a 32nd of an inch, or just a little over a thread width apart, and across. Just make a stitch across, and then back up again, and like a thread width apart and down. And you can see how that's just weaving, and then down to here, your midpoint, and just a thread width down. And you can do this with or without wool applique. You could do this, just draw your leaf shape on a piece of wool and just do it with thread work, or you can do it with the applique underneath. Doing it with the applique underneath is fun because it gives you a more three-dimensional leaf. It kind of pops up off the background. And if this were green on green, you wouldn't see so much of the green through. It would look natural. I'm using red so the camera can pick it up. And you just keep going all the way to the very bottom. It's a really fun stitch to do. I think you're going to find that you're going to start looking for places to put this fancy straight, woven straight stitch. So back up to the top, and you just go back and forth, top, bottom, top, bottom. And sometimes you have to kind of manipulate your thread if it doesn't want to lay where you want it to lay. You can kind of take the point of your needle and make it sit where you want it to sit. See, like that one crossed over, so I'm just going to take the point of my needle and pull it back down where it's supposed to be. And then back up to the top, make a stitch in and across and down. It uses up a lot of thread, so you get to see the gorgeous variegation on these threads, which is kind of fun. That one always wants to lay in the wrong spot, I guess. Then pull it down where it's supposed to be, give it a little tug, and back up to the top, in and out, in and out. Now I'll end one and start a new one so you can see how to start if you need to start a new thread. So down and across. And up and across. And down on this side, and I'm kind of out of thread, so I don't think I have enough to do a whole nother stitch, so I'm going to go down here on the right and tie off on the back. And then I'll start a new thread and continue on it. So when I came down here and knotted, my next stitch would come up here because I would be going over here. So when I come up, I'm going to come up here and start my next stitch. And so you can just follow along and continue on in that same pattern up and down until you get all the way down to this point, and it'll finish up that woven straight stitch. Now if you get down to the bottom and you find that it's uneven on one side, do just a couple straight stitches on one side woven in and out to make it even. But so far everything's looking straight and nice and even, and that is our woven straight stitch that creates these lovely leaves. So thank you for joining us here at Granny's Legacy Patterns.